pardon. Well, I'll jump. I got a real kick out of how to use the small talk. I was listening to it in Audible in the car as I was traveling, and it, so I'm going to use the dating techniques with Kim with small talk.
Oh, I like
So yeah, so I'm just teasing, but I just it's interesting being in. You know, it just tickled me. I'll just put it that way. But so moving through that chapter, I thought that chapter 15 was really, really good because it really stuck the needle down into the tissue. A lot of her chapters were really good, but I felt that this chapter really tied up, obviously getting towards the end or towards the epilogue. It really took us to the place of what she coined as the feel good factor in so many branches in so many areas. You know, her one example of the print shop where she said, the one shop owner had the sign basically, your problem is not our problem. And the perception that goes with that as compared to the shop up the street or across town that had a whole different, basically embrace that, hey, you have a problem or you have an emergency or something that you need ASAP, we can handle that. And I think that is also a great way to, if we think about it a little bit deeper, we can take that kind of an approach in how we speak to people in when we're in group sittings or situations, and just rephrasing the whole aspect of how we rephrase, or taking what some people in group situations where they can be maybe a bit dour or a bit more negative before we exit, or give any advice, we can actually flip the scenario, make an impact, and then if we decide to exit the conversation, that's always an option too. But I just really felt that this chapter 15 really tied things up with the verbal cues. Um, and then she had the chapter 16 with the holiday party. I don't necessarily have a problem at holiday parties, but sometimes you're invited to other people's homes or other group situations at, like a party, a Christmas party where maybe know one person, maybe the host or the hostess. And then you can take it, to the field, so to speak. Don't want to knock over my green drink here. That would be ugly. Um, so I just, I thought her questions at the end, the way she tied things up with that 7 or 8 list of questions. I mean, I answered them at this point in time pretty yes over the course of the last 2 or 3 weeks. I practiced a lot. Out of all the 7 books that we've read thus far, I really practiced this one, which was more of a practice, not it was a how-to manual, but it gave you some pretty simple instructions. And the way that she spoke gave us an opportunity in social settings over the course of the 3 weeks to be able to practice them. And I had very, very good success, especially last week in the back of an Uber in San Francisco. I was able to strike up 2 great conversations with 2 Uber drivers, just going down the path of LifeWave, but never really getting to LifeWave, but to the business opportunity, but asking the smaller questions and sticking them and gluing them together to build a bigger conversation, was very, very useful. And it thought it was a great book. So it's on the top shelf of my Audible shelf. So hope you all enjoyed it as well.
I love that. I actually the back end of the book, I found myself not taking too many notes or highlighting too many things. I felt like it was a little she did go through the different scenarios, right? Like the holiday parties, the singles meet and greets or whatever, the networking events and all that stuff. And she basically and from what I like saw in each chapter, she basically like summarized it, and I feel like it was a little bit repetitive, right? Because it kind of is the same thing no matter what setting you're into. But what I did kind of one of my favorite parts that I read was the feel good factor, and even the little simple things like, oh, what store are you going to shop at for convenience, or because the returns are easier, or blah blah blah. And it made me think of all the times where I think she even addressed it, I think the chapter before, where I've stayed in a conversation because it was comfortable for whatever reason, because I was scared to go out in the room, or like, oh, this is the only person I connected with, or maybe it was the only person I knew, whatever the case was, and you stayed a little too long, right? Of course, now that I think back and I'm like reading the book, and she's saying like, oh, the cues of like when you're done with someone and versus someone being done with you in terms of like this conversation's over, I want to walk away. I'm like, yeah, I could have let them walk away, I guess. But I don't want to because I'm comfortable right now, you know? So I did have to be more like mindful of those in terms of like more social events. For in terms of practicing, guys, it's hard because I'm really not like a, for example, I've been meeting with a lot of people around here in the community because I'm on the board of directors, right? So I've been meeting with people really early in the morning, 8 or even after whatever. And every time I meet someone, I'm just like, hi, my name's Lola, da, 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 and we start talking about business. Like, this is what needs to get done. I need this, or whatever. And I'm not the person making the small talk. Sometimes somebody else in the board will join, and they're making small talk, and they're like, oh, well, how long you guys been in business and blah blah blah. And in my mind, I'm just like, it's hot, guys. Can we finish the walkthrough and go back inside? So I will say, I have to get better at that because I know with you guys it's been a little simpler. We've over the course of a couple weeks and months, we've gotten to know each other. Things, we met in Destin, like all that stuff. So it's easier with you guys to chit chat, and obviously we're on Zoom and all that. But with people that I know that I'm just gonna do business with, I'm struggling. I don't even know. I just business in terms of, stuff needs to get done because I'm like get to business type of thing. Um, and then I read something here. It says, remember, people want to be with people who make them feel special, not with people who are special. So, like, never talk myself up. And it reminds me of what Jay says all the time, leave people with themselves. Um, so that later on they're like, man, I really like that person. Why do you like them? They don't even know. It's because you basically let them talk about themselves. But I did like the rest of the book. I love that at the end she's like, you know, I here declare you competent conversationalist. And I'm like, okay, I mean, I'm not there yet. Like small talk, I guess. But I will keep practicing. I'm gonna be able to practice in Destin, so that'll be fun.
Yes, you will be able to practice in Destin for sure. I think, and Ron, I think you can have a conversation with anybody. I think we had a conversation last year. We could have gone on forever. So I feel like your practicing is not necessarily practicing. I think you're pro at it. Um, but I so like Lola, I found myself also kind of going through the book for the last couple of chapters and just kind of I didn't really necessarily take any notes. I felt it was more of like a like a summary of what she previously went over and kind of more reminders of certain things. There was two different things that stood out to me, but I also wrote down the quotes that I found the most impactful for me. She says, the way you leave a conversation matters almost as much as how you enter it. So I thought that was interesting because, really most people are going to remember the way you exit a conversation more than when you actually first came into it. And people think that they have to kind of play a part, I guess, or depending on where you're going, kind of put on some type of performance, if you will, depending on what kind of event you're going to or what you're doing. So, making sure you leave with intention and what you're kind of, what you want them to remember you with. And then small talk is not the opposite of meaningful connection. It's the doorway to it. Also, really, I thought that was also really important because a lot of people think like the small talk is they don't like small talk because they don't think it's powerful. They don't think it really does anything. It doesn't have any value to it. But actually, it does. And it can lead you to asking the right questions to learn more things. Like Ron, you were talking about LifeWave. It could lead to LifeWave. It can lead to so many different things if you ask the right questions. Then she says, listen cues are not optional. Silence alone is not enough. Kind of like Lola, what you were talking about. But also it's more or less people. So sometimes I'll sit back and I try because I tend to talk a lot, but I try to sit back and kind of just listen for a little while. But sometimes I have to remind myself to make cues that I'm listening because otherwise it can come off disrespectful, which I didn't even think about, or that I'm kind of like a space cadet, not really there in the conversation at all. So that was something I thought about. And then the last one, she says, different rooms require different versions of you, but not a fake one. So again, so for me, I'm single for the first time in a very long time, and so she talks about that the book, the whole thing about going to these different events and conversation like that. So small talk is really important right now, I guess. It's a whole different world out there since when I was, back in the day. So I think it's more important and just you want to come off genuine, and of course you want to say the right things and not be the person that's like the what does she call it when you're stealing the conversation, like you're basically stealing it away and you're a conversation killer. So you don't want to be that person as well. So I think I think I keep saying this in every meeting that we have. I think it's important. These are important things that we might forget about along the way. And these are good reminders for the last few books that we've read of things that we want to make sure that we're focusing on. So I also took some things away from this book and I liked it. So thank you for letting me share.
I'll have a go, if that's all right with you guys.
Okay.
Kind of interesting. I did the audiobook like you, Ron. I prefer doing it that way, mostly because I have some visual issues, and so it's just easier for me. And I like listening while I'm exercising or making dinner and things like that. So I haven't taken any notes, but overall, I've sort of felt, because I'm coming out on the very last week, and I sort of caught up from when I contacted you, Lola, and found out, what's happening and how much more is there to go and stuff. But basically, I liked a good chunk of it, but some of it irritated me. Like you all said in previous weeks, I thought, oh, come on. I'm never going to say that. I'm never going to ask that. That's so unauthentic. And for me, I always prefer to speak from my heart and say what the truth is and listen to what someone else's truth is. But I'm also happy to talk about the cat that's just gone across the road. I can be in the moment. But I found it was very useful. Lots of, if you have little sum ups, and in Audible that it has a little ping. So I don't know what it's like in the book, but it goes ping, and then they're like the little bullet points. Okay. So but I have to share that in a way I didn't need to take any notes because I had a sort of a lesson in absolutely how not to have any small talk with the driver who took me to the hospital because I had to get drops in. That's why I couldn't drive myself. And oh my gosh, as soon as I got in the car, he was like, it started out all right. He's saying, oh, I have to let you know that I have hearing. I can't hear very well. And so I say, oh, that's a shame. Is it all right? And which ear is it in? So that make a difference. Do you need me to speak a little bit? That kind of thing. And oh my God, it was just like, those people that do Instagram, or it's like they do little reels of what they're eating and what they had for lunch and which shoe they put on, and they were trying to decide what to do. And then actually that reminded them of the other day, and actually 5 years ago when their brother was going off to the supermarket, and said it was just like that. And I thought, listen, it's really early in the morning. You haven't read the room or the inside of the car. I just wanted to have a bit of quiet, and I normally am very good handling this, but I would have said, if I was on the ball, I would have said, I can see that you really feel like chatting, but I'm afraid I really want to concentrate on what I'm going to ask the consultant. But honestly, every single thing, interrupt, talk over you, narcissistic, go and give too much information too soon. I knew about his brother, his sister, his wife, what happened to his parents, what happened to his pet hamster, to his pet rock when he was 3 years old. I mean, it was just like that the whole time. And I thought, I wished I'd had the hard copy with me because I would have whipped it out and opened it up and said, and sort of just I held the book up like that so you could have a little look at it, and start reading out loud. So that was a great reminder. And I did find many of the things quite helpful, like good tips and reminders. But boy, I thought, what a way to end the book. I thought I don't need to actually make any notes because it kind of said it all. So for me, I wouldn't put it on the top of my list of things because I liked it and it was a good reminder. It's like having a little memo sheet, you know, a little cheat sheet with basic bullet points. And I thought, thanks for the reminder. And I was glad I read it. Heard it anyway. But some of the questions, and even as you had in the bullet points, I thought were too formulaic and didn't feel very human. They felt slightly robotic to me. I'd rather just have something that feels a little more real or quirky. So that's my overall impression. I don't know. Yeah, that was it really. So kind of interesting, you know, to do it. And I got my finger out. I was trying to work out how many hours of listening and minutes of listening equals 15 pages, you know. So I have no idea, you know. Anyway, I crammed it all in. So that was it. I had a case study on the last day of reading the book on the way.
Pixie, how long was the car ride?
Too long. Every
Okay.
minute I was thinking, can't you listen? Can't you read my body language? I'm not even looking at you. I'm looking out the front windscreen. I stopped looking at you 5 minutes ago. You know, I'm not giving you any more responses because every response I give you, you just give us another excuse to launch in to tell me what happened to your pet hamster. I'm sorry. You know, I'm sorry.
Well,
So yeah, too long.
as you
No,
said, I guess
sorry.
I guess as you said, he's got to learn to read the car, read the room as to what's going on, eh?
But I'm afraid I actually was a little bit rude at the end on the ride home. I thought I can't put up with this anymore. So when he interrupted me for like the 5th time, I said, listen, you really like to talk and you're far more interested in what you have to say than listening to me. I want to finish my sentence, please. Please hear me out. I start getting pissed off, you know, and then I just think, well, fuck it. Sorry. That's what I felt.
Pixie.
Sorry, you know, I'm afraid my ceiling is painted blue. I've been known for it, but I will be very well behaved if that's offensive to anyone. Sorry, just slipped out.
No, I think we've heard that word before.
Oh, you've heard it. You've never used it though, I'm sure.
Of course
Ever.
not. Never.
No,
Angel
no,
Halo.
no. Yeah.
No, what I was going to say, Pixie, is that at least he was focusing on the driving. Maybe he was just kind of like it's like a thing to just kind of entertain most people because a lot of people do like that kind of entertainment while they're in a taxi.
No, he was narcissistic completely. Every single thing. If I said something happened to me, it would go straight back to, well, this blah blah blah. He was just you know, on another level, if I wasn't in the same physical space with him, I would have actually been more tolerant and say, poor guy, he's obviously very lonely or he's got other issues, but I'm not his therapist. I'm paying him money to take me somewhere, and I'm not paying to listen to all this coming in my right ear hole. Thank you.
Wow, I like your story. Thank you. And Pixie, I haven't met you before, so I'm Rhonda. Nice to meet you.
And you all, actually, it's lovely to see you all.
There were a few things in the book that I thought were good. And one of the things that she said was, be interested if you want to be interesting. And I thought that was a really good line. Sometimes we listen to what other people have to say, but I don't know, maybe it isn't all that interesting. But sometimes it's also to take the cues and use your body language, like pay attention to your body language. It gives off a lot more cues than we're probably aware of. So that's something that I have to be reminded of. Like Pixie, some of the icebreaker questions, and I know I said this last week as well, to me they're just not genuine. Like she talked about, if your house is on, ask someone, if your house is on fire, what are the items that you would take? And if I just met someone and they asked me that question, quite frankly, I don't know. It doesn't feel genuine. It doesn't feel real. Like it wouldn't work for me. So it might work for other people, but it just doesn't feel really, really good to myself. Some of the other notes that I have, the one on dating. I'm still in the dating pool, so there was a few things there to keep in mind. And one of the things that I wrote down is she said, be specific in order to receive a direct answer. And I thought that was really good. So when you want something from somebody, don't just beat around the bush, like, how about this weekend or how about that? Be really specific, as in, this Saturday, would you like to go for lunch? And then we could go for a walk on the beach as a dating example. So be specific, because sometimes people, we can all sort of agree to the, oh, sure, we'll get together, we'll do this. But the more you focus in on something, you'll get a better return or a better answer at the end from it. And oh yeah, I also liked her, don't sit down when you first meet someone and ask them, have you had your AIDS test lately? Yeah, probably not a good thing. I wouldn't start that to open any conversation. So that was okay. Noted, not something I want to do. And then the feel good factor. Yeah, people connect with people that make them feel good. And I think that's so important that we figure out kind of what makes other people tick. One of the things I've learned from a long time ago is just remember, the sweetest word to anybody's ears is the sound of their own name. So when you can use their name, it really helps to make a connection with people. And often I meet people with I'm just going to call them names that are very different to me, or I don't quite understand what they're saying. And so I'll ask them to spell it. And I find they're not insulted. They're happy to spell it. And then for me, that kind of gives me a bit of a basis to work from, and I can understand it a little bit better. And then wrapping up the book, she said, practice small talk. Practice makes perfect. And fake it for a while till it becomes second nature. And sometimes, we're all out there just doing the best that we can. We think others have got this, but yeah, just trying and seeing where we get to. So I found there was not a lot of things in the book that were like really new or overly inspiring, but just a lot of really good recommendations. For me, small talk isn't really something that I find difficult. And so it was just a lot of really good reminders of things to do, things I need to stop doing. So I think it was overall, it was good to just kind of help me get back up to speed, and just remember to keep practicing living life. And I think, just like everything, the more you do it, it'll become more natural, and it won't actually even feel like a task. It's something that you do.
I had one thing to add.
Oh.
Go ahead. Well, just in a second. I'm going to shut off the mic. I think when we, especially in group situations, there's a lot of people that speak in a colder manner. And it's really on a spectrum. You encounter people like that. You're trying to talk to them or want to talk to them, and there's really no response. And you ask yourself, do they have a pulse? And I mean, that's what I ask, in the head. Are you alive? You want to reach out and grab their wrist and go like this, or pinch their ear or something like that. And then on the other hand, you don't want to be boiling hot. You don't want to be scalding hot. And what I really believe as part of this, which she didn't really talk about, I think, a lot, but is that we really need to get out of our heads, and we just need to be warm. We want people to be warm to us, at least, I don't need someone to be scalding hot with me, and I don't need someone to be really cold. That's not going to work. And so part of the listening factor is, when you're listening, is show some warmth. Maybe look in their eyes just for a split second. I know that can be very difficult for people. It's kind of an invasion of privacy, but sometimes you'll catch me looking at you, and I'll look right in your eyes, and that is a form of warmth. It's not that I'm going to stare at you all 5 minutes long or 10 minutes, or it's just a matter of, hey, I'm connecting with you. So I think there's a balance and there's a lot that goes with this. It's not just about small talk. It's about, I think really is for some, having an out of body of your current body experience to be able to engage, to speak with people. I have somebody in the next room who can, if a dog could speak English or French or speak a language, my wife could probably get the dog to speak to them. And I'm using it as a weird example, but there are people that are much better at just being able, as I say, sticking the hypodermic needle in someone's thigh and extracting incredible information, basically, surgery with anesthetic, and someone is providing up information and there's a bond. And there's just other situations where it just doesn't work. And we have to come to that place in the assessment when we're assessing, which she goes over, do I say I came here, with the transition. I came here with the goal of meeting the CEO. I'm trying to find him. Do you know where he is? Or whatever the line might be. But I think the warmth has a lot to do with it. And if you can practice that level of warmth with others when you're in a group situation or personal one-on-one situation, the conversation will flow a lot easier. It's just an added extra piece that I throw in. I try, but at times, I can be as cold as ice with other people as well too. So
I find that really hard to believe, Ron. Right. And you are very good at that, listening. That's when I met you in Destin, you did that to me. And I was like, oh, I like him. He's present. He's refreshing. Nice to meet you, Pixie. Never met you before either. Okay, so let me see. Where do I begin? I was taking away the notes that some of you said about, basically it's kind of repetitive. It is repetitive. These are all truths that we kind of know, like, stop trying to think of the next sentence of what you want to say and just actually be present. Listen to the person who's talking to you. Really hard for someone who's got ADHD. Okay, just saying. But I have practiced a lot because, like you said, Pixie, it is like a bit of a manual of like just repeated kind of lessons. And I was going to say about the taxi cab driver. I'm a hairdresser, 35-year hair colorist, and I have been that taxi driver many, many times. So in his defense, I will say a lot of times it's actually just nervousness. You're with somebody and you don't know what to say, so you just fill the whole room because you don't know what to say. That's kind of, and I do come from narcissist kind of background and family and stuff, so there's a whole combination spectral there. So just to give people some grace in that way, I would say that's just kind of, I know I've been that driver before, and I can see the body language of the person going, I just want to read my book, right? Doing the hair, but I still keep talking. Right? So it's just in his defense, I'm just saying that. Okay, so my notes from the book, there was lots of tips. So again, my thing was like, stop trying to be interesting, be interested. And that's a big thing for me because it is a survival thing of like, am I saying it right? Do I need to, that I've kind of calmed down because I wear a patch, but total sidebar. And then repeat things back. That's one thing I've been trying to practice with people. Like, oh, did you... Like if they talk about their vacation, I'll kind of repeat things. Oh, that's amazing. I'd love to go there. Whatever. Ask better questions. I like the one where it's like, tell me more. Like, tell me more about whatever the heck you just said, right? And again, like you said, it's the feel good thing. Like people remember your vibe. They remember how you feel. This is a tough one for me. Is don't do awkward topic jumps. Very hard for me because I've instant. My head will literally jump 10 steps against from what somebody has said, one sentence. I'll pick up one word and it'll go to that whole different chapter and I've left them in the dust, right? So it's kind of like I need to just breathe before I have the conversation kind of thing and just literally be present, listen, and bridge it instead. So like, one of the questions that I really was taught by sort of a socialite client was, how do you spend your time? That was a really good one to lead to various interesting topics because everybody's different. Okay, so then the other one was yeah, just be real. Like Ron keeps saying, I use the word to humanize the topic. So for me, my sign for myself is, okay, Arlene, time out, just breathe, calm down, take a few breaths, and then enter whatever the party or enter the thing or the conversation or the meeting. I just need to get grounded, so that's something that really helps me. The exiting gracefully is something I'm not good at. Sometimes I'll literally just turn and walk away. Because there's so much distraction, right? So in wherever parties, those are very challenging for people with ADHD. Really, it's like there's stimulation overload. So I need to work on that. But just the nicety part of, like, it was really nice talking to you. That's one thing I'm really practicing, and like I'm gonna have to go. So if you don't mind, but it was really great talking to you. Hopefully we can connect again. That's how I've been leaving conversations. Page 2. The conversation killer part was hilarious for me because I have done that many times in my life where I'm just that person that I don't wait my turn, I interrupt because I'm trying to get that thought out before I forget it. So it comes across as really rude. And so I've learned to just zip it. Like even in my ADHD group that I'm in, a support group, I really kind of sit back and I just listen. And I even try to do it in this conversation realm here. And I try to match the energy, like what they always say, like meet people where they're at. I think this really goes for conversation as well. So if they're calm, like Pixie, calm, then I gotta kind of like calm it down, Arlene. If it's someone like Rhonda, where we can go off the wall and go wackadoodle together, that we do, and we really do. Right, Rhonda's still there? Yes.
Yeah, we do that.
Yes, we do. So at the end of the day, for me, it's like developing better habits of really, it's be curious, be present, huge one for me. Like Ron says, be warm, willing to ask another question, and like just be human. Like we're all lacking this in today's world. So like just literally just humanize it. So yeah, that's my takeaway for this book. I actually love this book. It's like you said, there's a lot of reminders, but I feel like I still need to work on it. Even though I'm pretty good at small talk, I still need to work on leading to that quote businessy conversation part later. So yeah, I usually ended up with like, hey, we got to connect another time. I got to go. I try to make if it's a random person on the street, I'll say it in that way. Just give me your number and I'll do a selfie picture and I'll connect with you later. So that's kind of how I lead in the pivot into the business on that side. So that's my share.
Well, that's a great segue because one of my favorite parts out of one of the last things you said there, one of my favorite parts out of the book was because I will get guilty of this at different networking or business events or conferences we go to. And we're there obviously to talk about business and other stuff, but then it just gets so exciting talking about personal things that it's sometimes hard to loop back to, oh yeah, what's the whole point of what we're here? So whether it's going back and forth on this, but overall, I thought I did enjoy some of the specific examples at the end. A lot of it, it's whether you're at a networking event or a holiday party or on the single scene or whatever it is they're talking about. The ideas are you can plug and play into each and any one of them there. But I did think there was a couple of the key things that I thought specifically for some of those events, and I did crack up because literally what Jay described last week happening to him after leaving somebody's conversation and then getting sidebarred and the person's just sitting there giving him staring daggers in his eyes as she described that one there. It's like, yeah, if you're pulling out of one of those conversations, make sure you don't get distracted on like you have to go get to talk to this other person or whatever, like because then that other person will see it. I did crack up is like, oh, this is exactly what he was talking about. But I did like a couple of those tips. Show up carrying 2 cocktails. So you've got yourself an out where it's like, oh, yeah, I was on my way to deliver this. So, all right, I'll catch you a little later, whatever. Like, I like that one. And if not, okay, perfect. You're having a really great time. So I did like that little trick. And then also, even if it is, like they talked about, if you need to find an excuse to, whether it's a group setting or if it is just you one-on-one with another person where you're like, this is not, I need an out of this, but you're inviting them with, where like, hey, by the way, I did want to go check out this exhibit, or I did need to go get another drink. Did you want to go with me? Where it's like, okay, you're kind of like, you're breaking from whatever spot where they've got you cornered in a room and how do we get out of this and back into the general population of the group here and catch somebody else and bring them in or whatever. But there were just, I thought, some very graceful, tactful tactics. And ultimately, if this is just about making connections and, like you said, humanizing, and there's so much disconnect now in the world, even though we're more connected than ever before, where if it can help bring people back together, I think that's the ultimate goal of this book. And I think it's a to your point, Ron, yes, could we all just be warmer individuals to everybody? And I think this is a great way to be able to do it. Now, I did really enjoy your story there, Pixie. Yes, I can absolutely, like, there have been many a times, and like I crack up because, like I said, this book, and from the very first chapter a couple weeks ago when we were talking about this, or the first section anyways, I've got some of those clients that will just steamroll, like, oh gosh, they're coming in here. Here comes Jerome again. And it's like, we know what that's going to be like. But yes, here are some very tactful ways. Like, let me put a stopgap in here. Like, we've got a team meeting here in 5 minutes, like whatever it is, or it's like, perfect. All right, get out what you got to get out. And like, we're putting in. So when we've got to interject it again, it's not coming off as rude. We told you on the front end, here's what we got going on. You're not sucking up 25 minutes of everybody's time on nothing and random and your hamster and your pet rock and all that other. So like, I do think this is a very, very, very practical book. Like I mentioned, I think it'd be a great one for some of my teenage nieces and nephews to read. And I did like at the very end of it, and she's like, other books for this, like for teenagers, like, perfect. I know what's going to be in my nephew's Easter basket this weekend. So I do think very practical and very good on that one. And yes, very nice to meet you, Pixie. Welcome to the book club.
I'll just jump in. I think I agree with most everybody where I don't think this book was anything necessarily revolutionary. I think it was a great reminder. I do think it could have been condensed into a great couple-page PDF with some great icebreakers and conversation starters, do's and don'ts, and everything like that. I did actually thoroughly enjoy the chapters on graceful exits and how to have those conversations. I think my favorite one, the double drink, but also in all reality, kind of like entering the conversation with your goals. Like my goal here today is to,
It could have been an email.
I agree. Touche. About talking about your goals, like I'm here today to find somebody who does this, or, do you know anybody hiring for this particular position? So that way you could say, okay, hey, I got to go talk to 3 more people before I leave here today. That's my goal. I did like those tips on how to do that, because I think a lot of the interactions and things that I'm doing where I need to practice small talk are networking events. And so I think that's a great way to not only start the conversation, but also exit it. But overall, yeah, I'm ready for the next book. I think I've had enough of the small talk. I think honestly, the thing that in all reality, like my takeaway is kind of like Pixie said, it's very robotic. So my takeaway is that I don't even know that I'm going to use so much of these conversation starters more than I am. I just need to go live my life and be interesting and have experiences. So that way I can have those conversations, right? Be curious about the others, but also so they're curious about you. And so I think that's what I would rather do to have conversation starters than, okay, I'm going to head into this networking with these 3, intro lines or these icebreakers. I don't know. I think that's my takeaway on the book. I'm ready for the next.
Well, and Rhonda, I know you called this one out specifically, but this was literally Crystal's opening line to me when we first met, was like, have I had a recent AIDS test? And so, here we are. We're married. Life is good. So we've got that going for us. And yeah, AIDS free since 86. I'm doing well on that category. No.
Yeah,
for you guys that it worked. Oh my God.
Hook, line, and sinker. Yeah, just boom. Yeah.
Deborah was onto something.
Good for you, Crystal. Woo!
Yeah, Crystal, I think to your point, this is an engineer's take on approach to conversation, right? Break it down, it's analytical, this is what you use, here's your tools. So a couple things. Also, I just had a chance to do this with Atkins about an hour and a half ago or so. I'll call him out for not being on, maybe 2 hours ago, for not being on the book club. So there's a lot of small talk opportunities, and got to put this in practice somewhat. So one of my validating, I don't think that the criminals was supposed to be validating, but these words describe me a lot of times. The interrupter, right? Most interrupters are like me. We interrupt because we think we know what you're going to say, so let's not waste time. Or we think we know you're wrong, and we must hurry to point out the errors in your thinking. I have a lot of spousal conversations where I just, yep. We could just make this conversation this much shorter because I think this is what you're going to say. And I feel like that isn't always appreciated. Maybe there's some stuff in the middle that would like to be expressed, but exactly what she said, I would like to just, well, let's get there. And then we go a little bit more transactional, which again, I own that. That is, but I was like, oh yeah, that's exactly why. That's exactly why. I think I know kind of where this is going. Let's just speed up those 2 minutes and like, oh yeah. But I feel like maybe that is not validating to the other person. So tongue in cheek, I do own that one. Be interested before you're interesting. Just had a chance to do this, asking more questions. I was talking to somebody at this realtor event we just had, and guy was talking about his, like, Atkins brought food, right? So there's bagels and all that stuff. And he's talking about his summer, like, trying to get the summer bod or whatever. Every part of me wanted to say, I have a training facility right down the road where we're working on that. Let me keep asking questions. You instantly want to kind of plug and talk about yourself or your business or whatever. But I have a question for the ladies and maybe Lola and Crystal, because you guys are exact opposite ends of the country, but anybody. This has just been my professional observation, because she mentions cocktail party in here all the time. You're a cocktail party. Is it just unwritten girl code? Because it's not for dudes, except for maybe Jay. Like, he loves to talk about how someone looks. Like, oh yeah, dude, that's his thing, which we've hazed him about for 20 years. But I feel like there is some unwritten rule. If you show up to it could be a cocktail party, whatever. One of the first things you have to say is, oh, you look beautiful. I love that dress. Oh, like, and I almost feel like it's kind of fumbled if I don't hear it. It's almost like, oh wow, they didn't compliment how you look or whatever. I'm opening this up to the forum. Isn't that kind of like an unwritten like icebreaker for cocktail parties that she always references? Like, people are dressed up. You kind of gotta, like, one woman meets another woman. You kind of gotta be like, oh, you look beautiful. Is that yeah? Well, I'm putting you on the spot. You're Miami.
Not for me. Not for me. No, I wouldn't expect that.
I love that dress.
I want something more real. I don't care about any of that.
Yeah, I'm not calling it out. I'm just my observation.
You know what it is? At least here in Miami, I don't be going out a lot, I'm gonna be honest, but when I do go out, it's like I know when I go out, everybody's dressed to show out, right? So at least here in Miami, because when I don't, super South Miami. So when I go out, I'm gonna, dress nice or whatever, and there's always gonna be other girls that I'm like, oh my gosh, she looks good. So I don't compliment them unless I genuinely mean it, but yes, usually that is how you start, especially if I'm wingmanning for like one of my guy friends. I'm like, you look beautiful, like, oh, these are my friends, like that kind of thing. So I personally do, because it is like a thing out here in Miami.
I spend a lot of time in Miami, so maybe, but I'd say around here, my wife and friends, same thing. It's just kind of like, oh, I love that dress, it's beautiful. Oh, like that's almost like the icebreaker, like to start the next thing. So I don't know,
and it don't even have to be the dress. It could be like her makeup. Your makeup looks so good, like
right.
Good on her.
I agree with Lola. I think it's not so much that it's like a rule, but it's, a lot of like our friends, their moms, they're not getting dressed up every single day. And so when you do head to a cocktail party or, a nice dinner and they're all dressed up, it's just the compliment of, oh, you look really nice tonight. Not that you don't always, but I know you
haggard and tired and just
like you tried and I want to acknowledge it.
Yeah, and then those you don't know, you never met them before, so you don't necessarily, like, this is your first impression, and they clearly look nice, and it's an icebreaker to, where'd you get your dress, or what do you normally do? And yeah, I mean, I think it's normal.
It was just my observation. Maybe it's in here somewhere, but just like when she constantly mentions cocktail parties, I just feel like that's like a like a natural.
It is.
I think when we women put in the effort also, as you're saying, like, maybe, it's not the everyday where you're just like, hey, let's meet you and let's figure out, let's not worry about what we're looking like. But when you're in a cocktail party and you put in the effort, and I don't know, I can't say that I do this, but they say sometimes women, we dress for ourselves, but we also dress for others. A lot of women, myself included, like if I buy something and I like it, I want to show it off. So the fact that someone else compliments me on it or notices it is very exciting to me, and it actually does work really well. So I think
I've
these
actually,
things, yeah, just happen naturally.
yeah, and I think they like what you said, we dress for other people. I've
Yeah,
heard it said here, like, oh, we go out to and we dress for other girls because guys will be like, who are you dressing for like that? It's like, it's not even for guys, it's for other girls because the other
yeah.
girls know what it took to look like this or that these shoes hurt, but we looking good, like that kind of thing. And I do think she addresses it in the book in the form of like, take ownership, take the burden of starting the conversation. So I feel like that's us girls starting the conversation with other girls, and then it just leads to hanging out the rest of the night if we hit it off type thing.
I
It's a
was
way to
gonna,
connect.
For sure.
I was gonna add a little bit from the west side, from the land of Lululemon. So that we're more natural girls over here. We're not Miami. We're on the kitty corner. Okay, Lola. But like, so the thing with the girls over here, or at least the women that I hang out with, I'll just say that we don't dress up. Actually, we're actually very like, this is how I dress normally: t-shirt, shorts, jeans, whatever. And if I go out to an actual event, it's very low key. So I don't dress up like you. I've noticed the Americans do dress up very fancy at a lot of the events, of course, which is great. But like, I personally find it, because I guess because I come from the beauty world, like as a hairdresser, I find it just so shallow for me that I like more real kind of like, hey, how's your day, or that kind of stuff. I don't really focus on the look of people, but that's just me. But obviously it's different environment. Like you said, in Miami, they really are like dressed up to the nines kind of thing. So just wanted to add that sort of there are a bunch of natural girls too out there that I actually not really interested. Like, I'll compliment, but it's not really the go-to. And I will say, when I went to an all-girls Catholic school, and I found, and I've also been to public schools that are mixed boys and girls, and I found that the girls were that spent the most time in the bathroom, all of them. I was always the girl waiting outside the room going, are you guys finished that? Let's go, right? But they're all doing makeup, and it's an all-girls Catholic school, and they're not impressing anybody but themselves. That was fascinating to me. So I think it's kind of a hardwiring too, that we're expected to kind of, as women, kind of, be all gussied up and whatever. So maybe we should all change that, in my opinion.
Maybe we solved
I think
society's
that opens
problems,
up a
right?
whole nother conversation and I mean, that's really true, about the hard wiring. But I mean, I think there's cultural stuff as well. When you're living in a country where I am, in Devon, where we've been having it piss rain for about 4 months in a row, the last thing people care about if you're going to a cocktail party, you're lucky if you're, oops, oh, thank you. Sorry, that's my personal assistant. She's very rude. I apologize. When it's been pissing with rain and your hair is plastered against your face and your clothes are dripping wet, the last thing they're going to say, oh, you look really lovely. You just say, oh God, isn't that awful, that weather? This is a real downpour. Because in this country, weather is going to be the thing that people talk about the most because it's so pissing awful most of the time. Or it's suddenly like you have 2 seconds of sun and you say, oh my God, look at that. Oh, and everyone rips off and they get in their shorts and stuff. So no, it's natural because it's what in front of you. So I'm with you on that, Arlene. It doesn't mean I'll never dress up, but when I come to Destin, I ain't dressing up. Sorry, folks. I'm gonna be natural, not au natural, but natural.
So I guess I'll just anyway, that was just an aside. When all these 25 examples she gave of the different ways that cocktail party starts, I usually hear kind of a few different. But anyway, I would say that the overall the book is it's good. I think the email comment's pretty funny. It does get a little bit repetitive. I feel like maybe she told her publisher she needed, at least on the Kindle, 202 pages, and she got to like 130, and it's like, all right, well, we got to stretch this out and let me get a bunch of lists. But I do think there's some really good key takeaways, like middle of somebody telling you their golf or their weekend about their kids or or grandkids or whatever. Doesn't mean you're not interested, but like if you actually have something else to do, you plant the seed, like, hey, just let me know, and in 5 minutes I got to get to this meeting. And then you've given yourself an exit to come back to and say, that's awesome, let's catch up in a little bit later. I do have to run into this meeting. So I think it's it's a very science based approach. but with some good nuggets.
Yes. So Irene, you jumped on. I don't know if you have anything to share with us, or if you're just kind of listening for your first time, because I don't think I've seen you on here before. But I did post on the chat there the link to the next book. It's very short, guys. Like it's so skinny. So I actually put a poll already. Yeah, look at that thing. It's so tiny. Actually, they don't even look that skinny no more now that you held it up.
No,
Yeah.
it's about 270 pages. It's about the same length as the other one. So
This
Oh.
one, we've got,
No,
there's
it's
plenty of time.
180.
We got 200 pages. Exactly.
Oh, then what did Jay show me? Maybe he got a workbook or something. He showed me some skinny book. I was like, that's really
there's an abridged version, which is about 110 pages.
Oh,
And
that's
there's
I'll
one,
double check.
and then there's other ones. There's different editions and there are different lengths. So it depends which length you get.
Okay.
Whoever's
I'll
getting the
double check
abridged
on that.
one, you're going to be finished in a week.
Well,
So
that makes me feel better because I really thought this was like a short book. I'm like, yo, we're gonna be done with that like in one meeting. But either way, I did post right now a poll on Facebook, so we can choose probably the next three books. The way it works, the three with the highest votes, in order of highest votes will be like the next three. And I put the list from the suggestions that we shared once upon a time a couple weeks ago. So, yeah, I think that's it. Thank you guys so much. Today was fun. And we'll see you guys next week with the new book.
Have a great Easter, everybody.
You too. Bye.
You
Yep.
too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
bye-bye. Bye-bye.